Uh, yeah, no, Idol definitely helped with fashion. So, growing up, I didn't really have access to a lot of, nice name brand clothing. Like my grandparents, they were very much, they wanted to get me the best things. But, in Chicago, especially growing up, I've spoken about the whole single parent home, it was a lot of thrifting, and that was before thrifting was cool. Like now everybody does thrifting, and I still thrift today. It's great. But that was, when it was still kind of like, oh man, I'm wearing things from the thrift store, so I didn't really have a whole lot of concept of like what was cool, what was not. And even in high school, I'm gonna say I didn't need a whole lot of fashion because I went to a military school. So Mondays through Fridays, I was in a military uniform, and when I got home, I just got into pajamas because I was at home. So it wasn't really until I went to Los Angeles and I saw, wow, there's a whole different world out here, and they helped with a lot once I made top 10. So up until right before I made top 10, I was still needing to buy my own clothing, do my own shopping, style myself, and you can tell, even myself looking back, there are some outfits that I'm just like, I see where I was going with it, but I would have done this differently, but I had no knowledge of that. And so, I had a stylist on the show. My stylist, his name was Seth. I loved Seth. Seth, if you're watching, thank you for everything. Seth really asked me, with the style of singing that I was doing on the show, what do I want? I wanted a clean, dapper look, and so he gave me that. He gave me, the nice fitted blazers with, the satin lapels, and it was, the little flower. Like, it was a nice little touch, but it was very clean and polished, which I couldn't dress like that all the time, So coming off the show, I think, I stayed in LA for a while, and, obviously, thankfully, having a little more money because of the show, I was able to, like, go into these places and see, like, wow, that's really nice. And believe it or not, a lot of people thought that I was just looking at the mannequins and just buying the whole outfit so that I could look like that. And I don't know what clicked, but I think having time to watch television and be, kind of immersed into that culture, it allowed me to, like, pick up things, and I paid attention to trends more often. But it wasn't until about, I want to say, 4 years ago that I really, I think I really dug into, like, wanting to pick up magazines and, like, look at things and do even, I did a paper on Coco Chanel my junior year of high school, and so, like, I was always interested in, like, the history of fashion, but now I don't really know what my set style is. I think I do a good job of just, like, for the, middle class that, is affordable. I think my favorite store, hands down, would be Zara. Zara, I mean, there's not many things that I wouldn't wear from Zara. Now, speaking like luxury brands, if I won the lottery, I could see myself wearing Yves Saint Laurent for the rest of my life. I think they could do no wrong. I love Calvin. Calvin is a very, again, it's a certain look, and I don't swear by everything Calvin, but there's not much Calvin I'd turn down either. Tom Ford is out of budget, honey. Tom Ford, I'm dying to have something from Tom Ford, but Tom Ford is like a whole different ballgame. So my style of music, especially to sing, I haven't been able, even till to this day, to like pinpoint what my genre is. And I think that has a lot to do with my mom. My mom, growing up, she listened to absolutely everything. And I think loving and appreciating different things from different genres made it easy for me to just kind of like, I sing what makes me feel good. And one of the artists that I can compare that to is like Billy Joel. Billy Joel, while yes, stylistically he had a lot of similarities with certain songs and certain records, I mean, that guy wrote songs that his albums didn't flow cohesively. He had one that sounded like this, one that sounded like this, one that sounded like that. And I love that idea. I love that concept of like, why do I need to be put in just a box? Because I'm 25 years old, but I mean, the 70s had some of the best music. And that's what I felt comfortable singing. Anything Stevie, anything Donny Hathaway, like we got Layla Hathaway for right now, Earth, Wind and Fire. Like, I grew up singing all sorts of things and loving this music. And until this day, especially, with the band that I'm in Chicago, we sing everything. And I couldn't tell you that I love one genre more than the other, because there are some songs that I'll never get tired of singing. So moving forward into my own independent career, while yes, I need to stick to some there has to be some sort of similarity or some sort of note that they can see. Okay, this is what makes it Devin. I'm hoping that my voice is that note, is that thing that sticks out, and that's the stamp of approval. You know, that me singing it should be enough. But I want to sing something that makes me feel good. You know, the songs that I released last year, they were completely 3 different genres. 2 of them were the same song, but completely different genres. And it's been interesting to see how the songs are doing, and to see like, wow, some people really like this, some people like this, and I had a great time doing them all. So moving forward, I want to make sure that, you know, what staying authentic means to me is making sure that my heart is in it, and making sure that at the end, you know, when I listen to the finished product, I'm like, wow, that was either, that made me feel great, or this is going to make someone else feel great. Yeah, so coming up right now, this is going to be the first time that I've had 100% creative control of a project, which, you know, as you can tell, I'm extremely excited about. I think that it's stressful. It's stressful because there's a lot of uncertainty, because, you know, from the time that I was on the show and even when getting off the show, I've kind of walked into the studio and there already be a concept going. Whereas this Christmas single that, you know, it's already finished, the song is already written, it's kind of crazy that I'm walking in with an entire song that was mine. But there's no background vocals yet. There's no instrumentation yet. It's just me and a piano, you know, when I wrote it. And so it's been a very, it's uncharted territory for me. You know, I'm not normally the songwriter of a song completely. I'm not normally the person that's like, this is what I want, this is what I want. You know, a lot of times there's, again, some sort of format that's laid out for me. There's also the expenses to it. You know, I've been blessed to have people in my life that have, I guess, made that part easier for me, because they've been in the industry and they've been doing things for longer than I have. So it's kind of, you know, I had to sit down with my producer. I'm working with Eddie Torres, which is my producer for 2 of my singles from last year. Amazing guy, has awards. He's been to India. He just won some London award for best score for a movie. The guy's amazing, and I trust him with my project because you know, he and I have met one-on-one, and I laid everything out for him. I said, listen, this is truly my first time going into something like this, and I want you to treat me like a customer, because I know that this is your livelihood, this is your business. But I also want you to walk me through it so that when I'm not working with someone that is as nice as you, I should know what the contracts look like, I should know what the royalties look like, I should know what it costs to mix and master, I should know what studio time costs, what, you know, I need to know what that looks like, because up until this point I've had no idea. You know, so I'm even reading this book, and I forgot the name of the author right now, but it's called Everything You Need to Know About the Music Business, which is kind of like, you know, music business for dummies, which up until this point I haven't had much experience in. So it's kind of nice because it's not set, like, you don't have to read it cover to cover. You can kind of mix and match or go through, you know, wherever you need to go. And I want to be a sponge right now. I want to be a sponge because while, yes, I've had, you know, immeasurable support, you know, from my mother, and a great rock with, you know, some of my other producer friends like Efren and Edwin Sanchez and Eddie Torres and Ben, I've had, it's almost been a crutch. And I use the word crutch because I feel like that's what they've been. They've been something to help, but I haven't felt the weight of it completely. And so, you know, the good thing about being on a crutch is that that's some sort of, you know, in most cases when you're young, a crutch is for rehabilitation. And then you graduate from that. And you have to put the cane down, you have to put the crutches down, and you have to learn how to walk for yourself. And you have to feel that weight, and it's going to be sore, and it's going to be tough. But there is a time and place for everything. And I think I'm in a place right now where mentally, emotionally, and spiritually, I want to know that I could do this for myself. And I want to be able to reach out for help, but I don't want it to just be there immediately, because then I'm not going to really take it as seriously. It's almost like when, you know, when you grow up and you have your first job, what are you doing with your money? You're going out and you're blowing it. You're going to the movies. You're buying your shopping. You're doing this. You don't know that Starbucks is, you know, $6. You don't care about that. Why? Because when you go home, mom and dad got the bills paid. And it's not until you move out that you're just like, whew, wow. We got to learn how to, you know, be on that ramen diet. We got to learn how to cut these lights off when we're not in the room. You know, and it's just a different concept, and it's all about maturity. I think there's tiers and levels to things in life, and I'm in that stage where I want to know that I could do this, and I want to go in, because I still feel very green, and I want to go in and I want to be able to mature. So my time frame right now is we're looking to release my Christmas single end of November, you know, like around the Thanksgiving time when people start listening to Christmas music. And I'm hoping to shoot a music video as well, but again, I gotta figure out how all this works, and I have to make sure that I have a marketing team, because that's another thing, I don't have a marketing team. All this has just been like, oh, like my post on Instagram, you know, like, no, there's a lot more that goes into this. So these next few months, while being busy with the recording aspect, I want to really do my due diligence and do my research and reach out to people that I need to reach out to, so that I can start to create those relationships and network and know what it's going to cost financially, what it's going to cost physically and mentally, because this stuff takes it out of you, I tell you. It really is a business. But I want to be able to do this right, and I want to know that it was me. So relationships, wow. You know what's funny is that this is probably going to be the first real time that I'm speaking about relationships. Because when I did all my interviews on Idol, I was not out yet. So this was like, I just, you know, my publicist told them these are the do's and the don'ts. You don't talk about my dad, you don't talk about me coming out, none of that. I'll be honest, it's been hard. It's had its, you know, like any relationship, it has trials. I think there's a giant, I can't say giant misconception. There's a slight misconception that relationships won't last in the music industry. And while, yes, there's, you know, a lot of people's history that we can look at, I think it truly depends on who you are as an artist and as a person, where your integrity lies. And it honestly, like 50-50, it falls on the person as well, that they can handle it, you know, the significant other. So I've been blessed to have been with the same guy for, you know, over 3 years now. And, you know, he didn't know that I was from Idol or anything like that at all, so it made it good because he didn't have an expectancy. But, you know, I'm blessed that he was very supportive very early on. And it's funny because he doesn't come from that background at all. His parents, neither of them were musicians. He is very much a scholar, which is something that I am not. I was very much a free-spirited, you know, artist, and he was more like structured and, you know, deadlines for this and school and college and blah, blah, blah. And my mother, funny enough, you know, when she started to get to know Brian, she was just like, you know, how is this going to work? Like, you guys aren't compatible. He's not a musician. He doesn't understand your life. And you don't understand his. I don't see this lasting. And, you know, we proved each other wrong because he's still around. My mother and him, they love each other. But it's been difficult. It's been difficult because, you know, sometimes I have to fly for work. And sometimes, you know, I'm not getting home till 1, 2 o'clock in the morning sometimes. And I'm leaving out of town certain weekends. You know, 2 weeks ago I was in South Bend at Notre Dame singing for this and blah, blah, blah. And it takes some adjusting. But in the same way that I have to understand that, you know, school is what he needs to be happy, me singing and everything that it comes with is what I need to be happy. And I think, as you know, I'll be honest, I can't make it sound like this has all been roses and that I've been perfect. I was really messed up. I had a lot of immaturity because this is like my first real relationship. This is the first time I had to learn sacrifice and compromise and all sorts of things. But I gotta say that it's been a beautiful journey. I think that certain relationships, they crash. They don't make it because, one, miscommunication. I think that, you know, when things get hard, there are certain people that don't like to have those hard conversations. And especially as a musician, thankfully this has not been me. But I know that, you know, for most musicians, because they're very free-spirited and they, you know, fly here and do this, it's very in the moment. And that makes it hard to plan ahead. And it makes it hard to be in a situation that looks hard and say, I want to work through this so that we can be together here. Because I know musicians that's not the case. You know, it's, hey, when things get tough, I'm leaving this weekend, it doesn't matter. And when you're in that headspace, it makes it easier to have a wandering eye. It makes it easier to not want to be committed. It makes it easier to, you know, be able to be swayed in the winds differently. And it sucks because I feel like it's the same thing for the other person still at home. You know, they're just like, this guy's not serious, or this person's not serious. They they don't have a concept of structure, and they don't, you know, they don't want to put in the work. They get up and they leave and everything's paid for them. You know, and so I think it's a lot of work. It's a lot of work, especially when you're not in the same industry. And I think, again, what has helped us is communication. And ultimately, I don't think I'd be this happy with someone else. I don't think that someone else who was not a musician would be this supportive, this understanding. He's like, hey, you gotta do what you gotta do. I love you, I'll be waiting for you when you get home. Everything to me. But if there's something I've learned, it's while you have to give, you also have to be willing to give to yourself too. And there is a certain selfishness that comes in everything in life. You have to be selfish towards yourself for what you want too. And as long as you're vocal about that, and as long as you're honest with yourself and you're doing your job in the relationship, asking for something that you need should not be something that someone should be afraid of. And that's something that I've had to ask for. And it's also something he's had to ask for. And I've had to look at him and say, okay, if that's what it's going to take to make this work, this will be hard, but let's do that. And we're in a place now where, you know, some of the trips for my business he gets to come with. And the ones that he doesn't, I'm calling him like, babe, it was a great show and I'll be home tomorrow. You know, and it's just, it's been fun. It has been fun.